Hello, welcome to another Azure Centric Podcast on our Azure Weekly Updates show. This is Marcos Nogueira. I'm your host today, and with me, as always, for the past 29 episodes, I have always my partner in crime, Andrew Lowes. How are you, Andrew?
I'm very good, very good. Thank you so much. It's nice as usual to be
It
here.
is.
29 episodes. Wow, that's pretty
It
good.
is. It is pretty good. We are at least not giving up that easily. And that is always
Well, it is a bit of work, but
it is.
it's really it's very kind of, I don't know, encouraging, I guess is the right
It
word.
is.
We do get a lot of feedback lately, and it really makes us kind of want to just keep pushing forwards. It's really nice.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I'm saying is thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and commenting on our Azure centric videos. I know Marcos works very hard on producing these. It's a little less resistance lately without all of my head shrinking, which we were just actually chatting about that. Actually,
Yes.
it's been very good, but the feedback is really positive, and it's so nice when we can kind of know that we're helping somebody, right?
Absolutely. And that's the part that I love about this is when it arrives Monday morning. And to be very honest, because this is recorded and then we publish it always the same hour, right? Sometimes I have to say that I'm busy with doing and I starting to see the emails. You have a new um you have a new comment on your video. Say comment on my video. Oh, it's Monday, so it's where the podcast release. But yes, it's very nice. I have to say, I feel very humbled with people that they are loving our show. They're loving us. They love the energy that we're putting into this. And they're loving that they are having a new vehicle of getting those updates out, and they are learning something from what we're talking about over here. This week, we don't have a theme precisely, but we have one of the most, it's not a technical update, right? But it is a fun update that we will see happening very soon. And that we leave at the end. So if you are curious enough, either you fast forward or you just wait until the end of the show to do this. But yeah, that's what we have for this week, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's some really good updates in there, um, kind of in the area of storage and things like that. There's a couple of new ones about that, and definitely, I think around the security center,
Yeah,
there's quite a lot actually of the monthly updates with that. There's
absolutely.
quite a bit in them. So.
Absolutely. So let's start our show. Let's roll the introduction video and we'll come back in a few moments. See you in a bit. So, welcome back. And let's start jumping to the first update. And the first update is about the Azure Security Center public preview updates for April. But you're saying, but is these guys are crazy? This they say that this is a weekly update show, and they're talking about updates in April preview. Yes, this is how Azure centric works, and in particular, how Azure Security Center released those updates. They
It's true. I actually thought you were going to say yes. We are a little crazy.
But I don't think that I need to say that because if everyone that is here that watch this, they already try to understand that when they see light on your window, above your head, it's trouble. And we already mentioned that we are in Calgary, and now we are going towards to the biggest day of the year. That's going to be like 18 hours of sun or whatever it is. So it's going to
Yeah,
be
it's like
very
quarter to 11 at night or something like that.
abs.
It's still
Yeah,
sunny. It's
it's
craziness.
craziness. So it's going to be very difficult to just either we wake up at 2 a.m. to just record this at night, right? On the winter, it's the other way around. It's very difficult to
It's true.
record.
We get 6.5 hours of sunshine in total.
Yes, we have to record like midday, something like that, to have sunshine. But
High noon.
that's enough. That's enough with sidetracking already, and we just went on the first
So
one.
yeah, so you're right though, because you were saying that the security center updates are always kind of at the end of the month,
Yeah.
and they're published for the beginning of the next month for the previous month.
Yes.
So it is just how things roll. And really, that's kind of maybe a good way to look at it, is it's a bit like a roll up, right?
Yep.
So they come out at the start, usually in the first week of the calendar month, the first few days for the previous month's updates and changes. So, with all of that mouthful said, I think one of the cool ones in here is I like that there's some new recommendations coming around guest configuration in the preview
Yes.
in the preview options. I think that that's really good. I've had kind of a bigger identity focus again a little bit lately, and I really like seeing the kind of the guest auditing options coming out, because so many companies really have to work a lot with outside identities, right?
Yes.
Guest
Yes.
identities,
Absolutely.
and anything that kind of draws attention and reviews those, I think, is a really positive thing.
Absolutely. And there are other recommendations as well that they mention on this preview. So basically, when Security Center release those updates, they release always together what they worked in this case and what they are going to work towards to the next update. So this is the things that they will work towards the next update. So that's why they say that is in preview. Um, Another recommendations that I'm very fan of is about Azure Defender, specifically for DNS. So Azure Defender now it's the ATP, the Advanced Threat Protection that you have on
Hmm.
Azure. So Azure Defender for DNS now have some recommendations. So if you are running, in this case, the Azure DNS, like for example, I'm running, they will now starting to get some recommendations about the configuration of your DNS, about your resource manager, and about all of those type of things. Uh, Another good thing about this is talking about Azure Defender is the use of the Azure Defender for the Kubernetes, for the
Hmm.
Azure Kubernetes cluster, the AKS, to protect the hybrid and multi-cloud Kubernetes deployments. So now they are extending that part even to containers, right? Specifically to Kubernetes. So pretty cool regarding all of those updates that we have in this case for Azure Security Center, right?
For the preview
For the
side,
previous,
yes, sir.
for the GA side, as we mentioned,
Oh, just like that.
exactly, it's fast. Uh, for Azure Security Center, general availability is on April 21 or 2021. In this case,
Hmm.
we have a bunch of them. Okay, we have quite a few updates that we need to talk a little bit about, and that will help in this case to go a lot of Defender again, right? So
There it is.
they did depreciated some of those alerts, some of those old alerts about Defender. In this case, about 11 alerts, but they did
Hmm.
create some Defender integration for endpoint with Azure Defender that now supports 2019 and Windows 10 WVD, our good friend, the Windows Virtual Desktop. Um,
Yeah, that's a big one.
that's a big one in this case. A lot of other Defender for SQL that they are doing as well on the tile that the on the tile removed from Azure Defender dashboard. So a lot of those type of things they are tweaking because Microsoft at the end, they are changing a little bit the Defender family, and that's where we see all of these updates coming, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's quite a few for Defender, and certainly one of the nice ones in there is a bit of a combination, really, for me, right? So the Azure Defender for SQL
Yeah,
on machine tile has been removed from the Defender dashboard. Um, I think that it just belongs as a regular alert coming in. Doesn't need to be a separate tile. So I really like that one. And like you were saying, some of the recommendations. So I think I was talking with a client, I think a couple of weeks ago about that and how the different recommendations really cycle through with things like Security Center and Secure Score and the identity score as well,
yeah,
right? So it's really cool. At least for me, it's really cool because the things that become less important can drop off the bottom of the list over
yeah.
time. And the things that are newer threats or new integrations with services and products, those work their way in and they find their way into new recommendations for these different security centers and alerts. And I think that that's really important because security is a moving target,
It
right?
is.
And it's always changing, and especially because the products and services in Azure evolve so rapidly, day to day, and the security needs to adapt with that. And that's really, for me at least, it's really what this is about: is how it's adapting over time, and it keeps getting better, and it stays relevant. So one of the other things I really like in here too is there's a couple of new apply system updates that were deprecated because it used to be you could just go in there and click and then apply the system updates. It should probably be a little bit more planned than simply clicking on it and
Exactly.
applying the
And they
updates.
have now the update management now, right? Because it's
Exactly,
really
right? So
good
now we
in
can
this case.
schedule
Yes,
things and all of that, right?
that
Yeah.
automation. But from all of this, um, what I like about those updates, there are two that I want to reinforce over here. Besides all of these updates that they release in April, um, is one of them. It's because Azure Security Center. It's basically a tool or a feature that Azure have to guide you, okay, and to alert you in a certain way about what is your security um, state, let's call it this way, about your environment. And by doing that, what they are doing is they are three regulatory compliance standards that they added to Azure Security Center. So right now, out of the box, you can compare, in this case, how is your infrastructure with Azure CIS 1.30, that is the version, with the CMM level 3, and with the New Zealand ISM restricted compliance. So basically, what they do is you can have reports that they can give you what it is compliant or not compliant and what you need to do regarding that. And those are, again, it will help you because if you are like me and Andrew, that we've been working on that part of trying to make the environment compliance with those regulatory, it's a nightmare. And helping to guide you, so you need to do this, you need to address that, and these points that you need to address, it facilitates tremendously this. Besides that, there is an update that is we've been talking a lot on this podcast, on this show, that is the CM key, the customer management keys, right?
Mhm.
And we've been talking a lot because a lot of organizations that they are still going to the cloud, they still have those investments of hardware like AHSM, for example, that they have in their environment, that they have something that it produce the keys because it's regulatory or not, and they want to control those keys, right? Right now, what Azure Security Center gives you is recommendation regarding the best practice of security control to control those custom management keys. So how you are controlling, because remember, you are in control of those keys. It's not the Azure Key Vault. It's not the Azure keys that you also have control, but you are not physically having access to them, right? It's a kind of a virtual CMK in this case, if we can call it this
Yeah.
way. But it's important just to have a kind of a guidance because I starting to see a lot of organization using and not following what is should be in this case the best practices. That's the parts that I just want to reinforce on the update, right?
Yeah, and I think kind of along those same lines as, in that same update that mentions those three kind of regulatory checks
Yeah.
for compliance, CIS. So CIS is one that at least Canadian government entities are compelled to comply
Yes.
with, right? So that's the Center for Internet or Information
Yes.
Security, one or the other, and those standards that come out of there, also you can get them for free, right? That's important to note. So a lot of these standards, you have to register accounts and do all of those things. CIS, you do register, but they're partnered with Microsoft, or Microsoft is a partner involved with them as a security benchmarking committee. And they cooperate, and you can get the list for Azure, you can get the list for Microsoft 365, and you can target any kind of subsets of that
Yes.
you want. So Office software, endpoint management,
Absolutely.
all those good things, right? But there's a lot to it, and compliance is again, it's another subset of the security kind of overarching conversation. But it's a very tricky one, and it can be quite time consuming. But if we stay at it, then with each organization, if you make a little incremental change every so often, you have much better security posture without big interruptions.
Yes. Absolutely. And
Sorry to get off on a tangent on
no,
that
no,
one.
no, no worries. It's a very good adding to the things that we've been talking about, because compliance, regulatory compliance, is been one of the things that we've been working so hard to get into a lot of organizations into that, and that's the part that it's really help. This will help them doing that, and there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
We should do a special program about Azure Security Center.
We actually really should, because it's vastly different than I think what a lot of people remember
Yes.
or think that it is,
Yeah,
right? There's
absolutely.
so much to it now.
Absolutely. So the next one that we want to talk about is as a geeks that we are, it's the new NPV1 virtual
I
machines.
was excited when we saw this one.
NPV1 virtual machines are now in general availability. So they are available to a lot of regions. So West US, East US, West Europe, and Southeast Asia. So let's talk about specs.
Yep. So you do have to request these ones, right?
Yes.
So you can't just typically, I should say, if you've previously requested an NP series, you may already be able to add it in your tenant, but you do have to request typically that the VM series limits be increased in your tenant. And usually they check for things like, do you have a partner? Do you have an agreement with Microsoft? All of these things, right? They want to, these are the big boys, these ones, right? So we're talking about, quite a lot of kind of heavy hitting power with these ones.
Yes.
And they really give a lot of throughput. So I think the workloads that we typically see on these ones are a little more oriented to video work and database work, right?
Yes.
Really analytics, I guess, in general, or video editing. So
Machine
they look
learning,
for a lot of,
in this case,
yeah,
inference. Yeah. All of that
yeah,
very high demanding of computing, right? That you need. It's where are those very intense workloads, for
Yeah,
example, that will
exactly.
need this. Although they are based or they are powered by one word that I cannot say, I will leave to you.
Oh, which one are we looking for here? The
She
uh,
links or
Xilinx
Xilinx. Yeah,
U250. I'm just guessing.
yes, it is. It is that one.
Microsoft, an enunciation guide would go a long way for some of us
Yes,
here. Absolutely, at least for me.
absolutely. So these new, how you call it, Xilinx,
I like it. Yep, we'll go with that.
Xilinx Alveo U250 FPGA. Oh my god.
Yeah, so there's some definition wrapped around it, but really what I like about this is it has the accelerated networking
Yes.
and the premium storage, right? So I think it was last week or the week before we talked about the ultra storage upgrade, the ultra storage for VMs.
Yes.
And I do believe now I haven't validated this, so I'm just going to go on a limb and I'm going to say because this is one of the bigger series, it's probably eligible for use with Ultra Disk. Um, I can't validate that because I haven't read the full Microsoft Docs KB on this
Yeah.
one. So.
What is interesting on this is this machine, from what I was able to see when we were preparing to record this, is it's not supported for live migration.
Yeah, that was an
That
interesting
was an
one. I thought
interesting one.
actually,
So,
yeah,
what does that mean? Means that this particular VM or this particular workload, it needs to be reside on that particular host. So it's more like a host base. So it's not supported for high availability. So means that in this case, if Microsoft needs to update this, you really need to be very keen and filling that part of your virtual machine, saying what is the window that they can update, or they really need to contact you to update that host because you don't have live migration. So position this VM as high availability. In this case, is going to be or this workload um, is going to be challenging. I don't know
yeah,
why
and
I have an assumption here or a feeling that this workload, because it's not, it says that these virtual machines, um that I almost saying that they are very like virtual machines dedicated to that specific host.
so it's interesting because as I was kind of reading for a moment here, one of the things that's a bit of a dependency with this is you are required to use the specific software,
Yes.
right? So you have to use a driver package and so forth from that XI links or Xilinx. Yeah, somebody weigh in the comments with a little audio clip on how to pronounce this crazy name, but you have to use their drivers,
Yeah.
right? And the moment we start talking about that, we're out of virtualization land, right? Because now we're into something that's very specific to the hardware. So I really do feel like this one's a bit of a kind of the dedicated VM on that dedicated piece of
Yeah.
hardware. And again, though, the NP series is big and it's got specific networking and everything running on it,
Yeah.
right? So it does kind of make
Yeah.
sense that way.
And just to give an idea, we're talking about these Z-Links is the FPGAs, right? It's talking about networking. And we're talking about that you can have four, at least on the biggest one, four of these Ziling or the name that we cannot pronounce, with each one can achieve three 30,000 megabits bytes,
Bytes.
sorry, megabytes per second.
Yep. Yep.
30,000, and you have four of those.
Yeah. So you're going to be hitting. So if you imagine if you had like 3 of these, you're going to start to hit top of rack limitations in the Azure rack physically,
Yeah.
right? Because really we're only allowed 10 terabytes. But I don't think that that's proprietary information, is it? I read that somewhere on the KB.
Yes, that is something that on the KB you should enable this. It's just to see the fast, and that's why those VMs are really dedicated to this specific host because of that, right? Other than that, it's going to be a nightmare to live migrate these. They have to have this specific FPGA adapter. I will not say the
Hmm.
name because it is not. I don't want it. It's I don't want to murder
Oh,
the
I think
name.
we're both probably mispronouncing it pretty
Absolutely,
terribly.
absolutely.
Well, anyways, it's a big one, and if an organization or you as a Azure customer listening and watching us here today have been waiting for something that you can do a little bit more with your e-learning initiative, video transcoding, or your database analytics. You've been waiting for something with a bit more throughput and a bit more horsepower. The time is here for you. It's a lucky
It
day.
is. It is a lucky day. Moving to the next one, it's not a very standard update, but it's an honorable mention. It's about the Azure Data Share Preview API versions will no longer be supporting starting in August 1st, 2021. So we have about 3 months, less than 3 months.
Exactly. Yeah. And when we were kind of choosing our articles this week, we talked about, normally we do kind of not include a lot of data ones because that's not really the area that we're here to talk about for everybody. However, because this one's coming up quite fast, right?
Yeah,
Just a few months, August 1st, and it's even on the first of the month, right? So really it's like July 31st. You'd better be finished with it already. But it has a kind of a big impact, right? So it's the data share REST API or SDKs through Azure Portal, Azure CLI, and PowerShell are not impacted on this one, right? It's only REST API and SDK that's impacted.
yes.
Um, but there's a lot of applications, custom ones and things like that, that are relying on REST API in particular now um, that might be impacted by this. So if your organization or your DevOps team is using REST API for data share previews, then maybe mention this to some other members of your team and make sure that your organization won't be left in the dark, so to
Absolutely.
speak, on August 1st.
Absolutely. It's always good to know that those things are have a time bomb, right, associated.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised. So usually we hear about those things pretty far in advance. So it's good. We just make sure we share that
Yeah.
information with all of our viewers and
ab-
listeners. I like that.
Absolutely. Moving to the next one, talking about the GA of the Azure Log Analytics UI updates for May, in this case 2021. So this
Hmm.
talks about basically two updates. It's a kind of a two in one, right? These new
It
updates
is.
is a new experience for custom logs that I have to say that it's way better because now you have a blade, right, on the custom logs that you can have those logs and you click on the blade and you click for example on agent management, agent configuration and all of that and you can see it, those custom log custom, and then you can see what is the logs that you are basically getting from Azure Log Analytics and the pinned Azure dashboard part filtration integration. So
Yeah, that one I really like because that one now, when you have the log analytics pinned parts, now we can use the dashboard filters in the new, like the new modern dashboard model,
yeah,
right? Now we can apply those filters dynamically
Yes,
as we're in the dashboard. That's kind of a big deal for me,
it
right? Because
is.
it makes the dashboard more usable.
Absolutely. And I have to say that I bump into this week because luckily or not, I was I was creating a dashboard for a customer of mine because he was deploying these web APIs and all of that, and we were copying, not copying, we were cloning those web APIs, for example, and creating all of those instances to just seeing. And I was creating a dashboard for them just to see what was the performance, and I realized that it says this was not there before. And then you know what?
Right?
I went to the same source that we are here, and I saw this. So oh, now it's a new feature.
Absolutely, right. And it's one of the cool things I think that sometimes IT teams forget they can do with dashboards. The new dashboards are dynamic. It's a tool you can use kind of as you're looking for information in your tenant or inside a resource group, whatever your dashboard's doing. But once you have built a dashboard for yourself, don't be selfish.
Yeah,
Share it with your
share
team,
exactly.
right? Because you can share those dashboards, and it's something that I think that in Azure, as like admins, like hands-on engineering, we don't actually share those dashboards back and forth enough. Because I know, well, as you know, I have a passion for the stoplight kind of displays, and like red, yellow, and green, because we can just look at it really quickly and know what we have to focus on, what's not green basically, and then we can kind of get things done really quick. But I'm also guilty of it, right? So I should share those more with you, and I'll do that in the future,
Okay,
Marcos.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I feel like Christmas in May.
Well, wait a second here. Yeah, it checks out, folks.
We have snow in May.
It's Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We
Well, let's stay focused.
let's stay
So
focused.
we actually have another one that we're both pretty passionate about, right? Azure
Yeah.
Backup. So operational backup for Azure Blobs is now generally available. So what does that one mean for us?
Means that we have backups now that they are in GA, that is for our Azure blobs. So means that we can protect our solutions, our data, right? That lets you protect your block blob, okay, data
Mhm.
from
You got it.
very various data loss scenarios. So if you have, for example, on top of my head, block corruption, if anyone deletes, or by automation that always happen, that you
Mhm.
accidental delete the storage account, or by anyone that do that, now you can recover those because it's operational, and it's now you have a backup of those Azure blobs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in GA,
In
right?
GA. So
And
means
it's
that you
really
can use
nice.
in production.
Yeah, because we can actually use it. Exactly. I like what I like about this one is that it's fully integrated already with the Azure Backup management tools. And you know what that means because it's in the management tools, it's in the modern interface, which means we can use policy to help us with this as well.
Yes, absolutely. And and the things that you can do it with the protection, with the management and the restore is it's absolutely incredible. I see a lot of good things coming from the backup center, that they are improving a lot
Mhm.
and all of this, and now you have a pretty good solution for backing up your Azure blobs, which is interesting because it was one of the parts that in beginning of this you didn't have it. The only way to recover it was replicating to another one, and I had a lot
That's
of
right.
a lot of customers, and this is probably it's worth spending a few minutes or a few words about this. Is even if you have your storage like on the most expensive one, that is the geo-redundant one, what
Hmm.
means that you have theoretically no, you have three copies on the same region, and then you are replicating those copies to the other region, so you have another three copies on a different region. So in total, when you're storing that information, you are storing in six different regions. Okay,
Hmm.
but that it
Well, data centers, six different data
sorry,
centers, two
yes, yeah,
regions.
yes, you're right. Six, the not data center, six different locations. Let's go this way, because we don't know if it's different data centers or not, right? They are being recording,
Well, it's supposed to be 3 zones per region, which a zone is a data
but
center,
you
right?
have regions that you don't have three zones, right?
Well, that's true too. Yeah,
So
that's a good point. So it could just be the other end of the facility on a different utility power or something.
exactly. So let's call it locations, because
Okay. Okay.
it's correct, right? So you have basically, you are storing the same files or the same file in six different locations and two different regions. Okay, that is what is, for example, the the geographic replication means, the geo replication. Although a lot of people thinks, oh, that's okay, because if we delete something, we can go back to the other region to recover that file. No, you can't,
Let
because
me know how that works out for you.
exactly, because this is like everything that you do is being replicated six times, or in this
Yeah.
case
And
five
the
times.
replication is very fast, isn't it?
It is fast, because the thing is, if one region becomes unavailable, or one of those locations becomes unavailable, you automatically have the other one. That's why you're paying the big bucks in
The big bucks on those
on those
ones, yeah.
ones, right? And be able to have another region that have exactly the same information as the source region, you're paying big bucks for that. So guess what? If you delete the file, you are deleting the file on the six locations across the two regions. So there is no other way to recover, even if you don't use, for example, Azure Backup or any other mechanism to just back up that information.
Yeah, and I want to say the innovation kind of to do these things, like to integrate Azure Backup, isn't as easy as it appears on the surface, right? Because the backup tool has to be quite aware of the different replication
Yes,
locations for the data, and it has to know which one to pick to do the backup, all of those things, right?
absolutely.
But that was one of the areas I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago that was really lagging behind in product kind of the front edge of the product for backup, right? So
Absolutely.
we had to use third-party tools in many cases to accomplish backups, and that means we had to either add API integrations, sharing a key, things like that, or we had to take Azure all the way out, our data rather, all the way out of Azure to accomplish the backups. And this is really, really great, in my own
No, it
opinion,
is.
because now we can utilize the native
Yeah,
tooling to not only accomplish the backups, but by keeping the data inside Azure, we have, of course, with our storage accounts and things, we can use customer managed keys, make sure that we've enabled encryption on our storage accounts, and all of those really positive things that come with the native tools of Azure,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, Moving to the next one is talking about VPN gateways. So the general availability of multiple features for Azure VPN Gateway. So Azure VPN Gateway, you went on a long transformation, right? Uh,
Yeah, there's been a lot of
a lot of
changes.
changes, and basically they are announcing four new that is right now available. So it's in GA, right? So you
Mhm.
can use it in production. Four new features. The first one is multiple authentication types for point-to-point VPN, right? So now you have you can have on a single gateway, you can have multiple, in this case, authentication like open VPN tunnels, Azure
Mhm.
AD, certificates bases, base radius, in this case on a single gateway, which makes a
Yeah,
life
and that's a
simple.
big
Yes,
deal, right?
it is a big deal because with this pandemic kind of transformation world that we live right now, right, we see a lot of organizations that they were not expecting to have every single one working from home, and they have a lot of issues implementing, in this case, gateways or implementing VPNs to their customers to be able to, not customers, to their um, or to their users, to be able to have that on the secure way to just uh, uh, traffic all the things that they needed to be secure regarding their organization, right? And be able to have one, in this case, single gateway that you can have multiple. Because, for example, Azure AD, it's awesome, but it should be only internal. But although you should have, for example, contractors or some external vendors that you don't need to create an Azure AD for them, you can basically give them like a certificate or a radius or even an open a VPN tunnel that they can use for that, right? And
Yep. There's so many different ways to integrate
yeah,
identity. That's definitely a full deep dive on its own.
absolutely. We could be here for
So
hours.
the one feature in here that I was actually kind of eyeballing was the BGP diagnostics. To be honest, because there's been some good advancements in the last month or two around route management in Azure for customer networks,
Yeah,
right? And this is a big deal for not even just large enterprises, but also for smaller businesses that are integrated with ExpressRoute
absolutely.
and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
Because BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, is really the foundation of how fast communications is happening on the backbone in Azure. And that also includes your own customer on premises network, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of like Cisco, Juniper, FortiGate, all those, like all the major networking equipments use BGP
Yes.
for their initial communication and handshakes and all those things. So I'm no networking expert, not by a long shot, but I know enough to be dangerous. And BGP is definitely a really good management
Yeah.
tool, or the diagnostics rather, is a good management tool to add on,
Absolutely.
and a really important one, quite frankly. It's a huge advancements with BGP lately in route management. So it's awesome to
It
see.
is, and for us that we usually going on these environments, and we want to see what is uh, the routes that been advertising or not, even to send to the network expert saying, "Hey, this is what we see on Azure site. What do you see in this case on yours?" And then we can compare. Is something that we were missing as well, and goes to the other feature that is the VPN package pack capture in Azure portal. So
Got
to
it.
be able to, sometimes we want to see what is going on the VPN, and we are not able to see it right now. We can have this packet capture on the VPN. It's now available in this case for verifying this. Uh, it's very good when you have some connectivity and performance related problems that really often they are really complex to manage all of those.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, especially with so many interconnected things and uh yeah, you just get all of the different customer sites in, and then you've got all of the Azure VNets. It starts to get quite complex pretty
absolutely.
fast.
But although I have to say, from the four features that they enable for Azure VPN Gateway, one of my favorite is this VPN connection management,
Mhm.
because now you are able to reset the gateway, and that
Yep,
sometimes is so
that's been a big
critical.
one. We've had
Oh my
to
god,
engage
yes.
support to do the VPN resets in the past, and now we can actually do that without having to create a service request with Azure support, right?
Absolutely. So that button that you can reset, it's magical sometimes, because sometimes it's you have active standby, for example, kind of configuration, and be able to reset so we can pick up the new one. It's magical. We don't need to open a ticket to say, "Can you please reset this?" And by the way, it's for yesterday, because we
Yep,
are not.
because if your VPN connection is
Yeah,
down, chances are all of your users have already noticed.
exactly. Exactly. So
Not a great day.
it's not a great day, no. So those are the features that I highly that I was looking for, and I saw that that they are coming, which is good, right? Which is of really good. For the next update, we are talking about the prevent shared key authorization for an Azure storage account. In this
Yep.
is a nice one, correct? Why is a nice
Oh,
one,
absolutely.
Andrew?
So I'm going to pull this right out of this update because I think they've actually done a very good job of wording this. So thank you, whoever wrote this one. But by default, requests can be authorized with either Azure AD credentials or the shared access key,
Yeah.
right? So really, what we're talking about is on storage account, you can use like a SAS key, and it has like the key ID and then the secret, so that basically you're using kind of a REST API, is the long and the short of it, to access your data.
Yes.
Now, I actually use that method on many occasions to map, for example, a local drive letter to an Azure Storage account. When I have to move a bunch of data or complex or sometimes confidential data, because we can do it quite securely and we can restrict those keys to even a folder level now. So there's a lot of benefit to doing that. But the general availability here is that before we disable that shared key authorization on the existing storage account, it now prevents that from being done like prematurely and cutting off data transfer and things like that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's going to help everyone. And again, this is in GA, so you can use this in production, right? So
Hmm.
you can start using this right now, and allows us to just go on this Azure Storage account and starting provision this on the way that you are not using the legacy ones, and starting using way more secure advantage, in this case
Absolutely.
for those Azure Storage accounts. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think in the old way we there was only the reissue, the key, and this now allows us to disable like a key that we don't need to use
yeah,
anymore.
exactly, exactly. Talking about storage, Azure Storage in preview, it's the attribute based access control, the ABAC. It's now available for preview. So, what is this ABAC? Do you know, without putting on a spot?
So I know a little bit about it. So ABAC is like the cousin of RBAC, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
they're very much related, um,
They are.
but
They are. It's the difference is the A. One is R back. The other one is A back.
but there's a dependency, right? So that's why it's kind of like a family thing
Okay.
because we're always interdependent, right? So with ABAC, it builds on the role based or RBAC by adding conditions to the role assignments. So it's like conditional access for RBAC. It's freaking sweet.
It
Marcos.
is.
It's awesome,
It
right?
is. It is one of the things that it's kind of remind me, okay? And don't kill me on this, but it's kind of
Oh,
remind me of dynamic groups.
ah, so I like dynamic groups, as you know,
Yes. That's why I
but you
say
have to
don't
be
kill
very
me on this.
careful.
Don't kill me on this.
Yeah, you have to be careful about how you implement a dynamic group,
Yes.
right? Because it can be dangerous, and you have to make sure that you're doing things, anything conditional or dynamic, in a very secure and well thought out way.
Yes. And this is in this case right now, as they say over here, and I would like to reinforce this. If you're going to the Azure page, in this case to the Azure blog update page, and if you click on the conditions to roll as Azure role assignments, one of the things it's very big, bold, important message, and I'm reading direct from the horse mouth, saying Azure ABAP, Ab, Ab, oh, ABAC, and
Hmm.
Azure Role Assignments condition are currently in preview.
Preview, folks,
Preview,
not
not production.
production.
This preview version is provided without a service level agreement. It's not recommended for production workloads. Certain features may not be supported or might have constrained capabilities. So, just to see that we are not the only ones saying over here at the show, say, please don't use this in production. Okay, it's directly from Microsoft Docs. In this
It's a
case,
constant fight,
it's
though,
a
right?
constant fight.
Customers always want to use new features because it solves a problem. And kind of the Azure world, I'm going to say in general, Microsoft and those of us that architect solutions and implement them, we're always saying, well, hold on. Yes, it's exciting, but we should test that first. And you know what it's like to try and rein in some customers. They just get very excited and go straight into it, and then when something happens, they're saying, "Oh my God, what happened?"
Exactly.
Well, it was not GA, and I don't want to be rude, but I did tell you.
Exactly. I told you so.
So
It's
it's
kind of
yeah,
dude.
it's sometimes it's kind of a
At
hard
least
thing.
it's what we think about it, but we don't say it. Correct?
Yeah, we never say "I told you so," but we may say it in other ways.
Exactly. On the Canadian way, very polite, say sorry, sir, but I told you so. Hey,
Yep. So we did discuss this previously,
exactly.
but now that it has gone GA, let's re-roll this out, and then we can actually take advantage of it. But yeah, so there's going to be some cool features with that. The thing that really jumps out for me with kind of conditional access rules for storage accounts is that we can limit when an application or a user can access or write data, and I think that that's awesome. So I think it plays out like you think of limiting an app to business hours, right? So it can only read and write data 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, if they're a bank or something like that,
It's
right?
not only that,
So
it's like it complements, right? All of the logistical nightmare that we have to do it regarding, for example, implementing PIM, implementing everything on the user that they have, that we are using RBAC
I
at.
I gotta say, I'm supposed to love Pim as kind of a security minded person, but I'm honestly, it is such a
It
pain.
is.
It really does slow you down. Now, that said, there's definitely applications that require, I shouldn't say applications, that's a bit ambiguous. There's situations where PIM is really a good thing to use because it's confidential or secret data, and we have to be more cautious than even usual.
Absolutely.
Um,
But there are
but
other
yeah,
ways that, for example, in usually I see a lot of that when we implement the workflow on PIM, that you need approval for something like that. It's like, what happened if the operations that is 24 by 7 need an approval on Sunday night to do something.
Yep. Or guys like you and I that work all hours of the day,
Yeah.
and then we don't have the prior approval. It's not scheduled, and we kind of put it in and on like a Saturday evening or something to do some work on Sunday afternoon. And because the ops folks are 9 to 5, we're out of luck until perhaps Monday night,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's a very good way that you can put it. The next one,
So you have one more update for us,
yes,
but it's kind of a fun one though,
it's
right?
a different one. Okay, it's the one that we mentioned on introduction part of it that is not technical. Okay, although it's a geek one, right? And because we talk about tremendously about Azure, right? Um, now you will see some adjustments on Azure. So, folks, here it is, the new Azure icon. Okay.
It is. Yeah, so I'm sure that the team worked super hard on that.
Yes,
It's a kind of a big
it
deal
is.
to release new Azure icons or change naming and things like that,
Yeah,
right? It impacts so many things.
so many things. The first thing that it impacts is the swag that
Yeah,
impacts directly to
Microsoft,
us.
come on. I haven't had a new backpack since like what, 2019 or
Yeah,
something like that.
since last Ignite.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So we need new shirts. So Microsoft, we need new shirts, stickers, you name it. Like bottles of water, for example, right? That's the
Yeah.
old Azure logo, and all of that. Although
Oh
I
my
have to
gosh, I
say
didn't
that
even think of that.
that
All my water bottles are horribly out of date
yeah,
now.
they are. So we need new water bottles. So if someone at Azure can basically send us, uh,
Yeah,
feel
hook
free.
us up,
Okay,
folks.
hubs,
Absolutely. We
completely.
sing the praises all day long.
Absolutely. So, but the poor guys that they are listen to the podcast, you really need to come and see in this case this time because there is no other way that I can describe the new icon. Although what I found is, oh, it's 3D. It isn't 3D.
No, it's not 3D, but it has like that flow, right?
Exactly. They are using a new Microsoft system called the Fluent Design System that is being used in this case for other products that they are using, right? And he's using. So what I like about this is first the icon is it's look amazing. Okay,
It's very sharp, isn't it? I love how it has the soft curve to it. It looks very
it
appealing.
looks very appealing. It's look like 3D, but it's not 3D, which is amazing. So it will be challenge to put this with this kind of degradé of the color of the blue, and you can see that is the same blue, but looks like with the light starting from the light blue to the darker blue, and it kind of conturns to make an A, basically, of Azure, but it's look good, amazing, I have to say. But it is a new logo, right? So Azure has been on so many transformation. I remember since the beginning it was Windows Azure,
I remember that when
yeah,
it first launched.
Windows
Yeah.
Azure, and then was Microsoft Azure, and then it was just Azure, right? And it was just Azure with that kind of logo that is very similar to have those complex. And now it's kind of more modern. It's not that linear, right? Like as is a little bit curvy, at least on the edges. You don't have sharp edges, let's call this way, as the old logo, but it's look good, I have to say. So um and yeah, that's the last update for the week. What do you think
Oh wow.
about the new logo?
Well, I like it. I love how it has like those soft edge to it. I agree. It's like a more modern iteration, right?
Yeah.
And I like how they're using like the Fluent technology to do that. It looks almost like it's 3D, but it's not. I'd like to see it with the white background too, and see how it stands out. I feel like the light blue might blend a little easier with darker colors,
Yes.
but it might be a bit tricky on, for example, like the white background,
Yeah.
right? So, you know what? It's a logo. I'm sure there was quite a lot of very excited discussion around updating the logo. So it's probably been in the works for quite a while with many folks.
Yes.
And well done. I think it looks good.
It
Yeah.
looks amazing. I love it, to be very honest. And I always
I
like.
think I think regular folks underestimate the amount of graphics work that has to go
Oh my
into this
God! Don't
kinds of
tell me
thing,
that.
right?
The-
I know. Well, it was we were announcing this, and we heard all the fluff about this earlier this week, but uh, all my own icons and my blog site and everything now everything has to get updated. And I was just thinking, you know what? It gives me a migraine, so I'm going to stop thinking about it.
What about creating, in this case? What about creating a Azure function to do update all of that?
You know what? It's true. If I have to do it, this will be the second update. So third time means I have to automate it. So maybe I should consider it
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. I'm considering.
I better comply with my own
I'm
policy.
considering in mind. So, on my blog, for example, I use the CI/CD. So updating this is going to be very easy because I just need to upload
Yeah.
the new image, link to everything that I need, and that's it. And upload, push it, GitHub push, or in this case, Git push. That's it.
Hmm.
Everything is updated. So you should do it in this case.
It's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know my blog design lags behind a little bit, but mostly because I just despise web design.
That's okay. With that, folks, unfortunately, we come to the end of this episode this week. Okay, I hope that you guys like it. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Sorry, but I had to say that. Don't forget to just give thumbs up, thumbs down, comments. Just share your love or your hate. We love love. We are lovely guys.
We love around here.
Yes, we are
Absolutely.
lovely guys. But if you have something to say, just say it. We
Absolutely. Let us
yeah.
know.
Let us know if you don't like us. I know that I didn't shave this week, but I don't think that that's going to be a problem, especially for the audio podcast. Right?
Won't have any technical impact, I don't
Yeah.
think, unless you're scraping up against the mic or something, right?
Which I'm not, because I'm still like a few inches from the mic. So I think I'm going to be okay. But once again, thank you everyone for the support that we've been having on this update. Thank you, Andrew. It's not easy with this marvelous weather in Calgary that we have. That we are always is calling us from outside, right? Just to go outside and to be able to record once again another episode.
It's true. Yes, we will at some point be able to record, maybe even outdoors together.
Yeah,
We'll just have to wait for all these things to settle down, I suppose, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So thank you once again, and I hope I can see you on the next episode next week. Thank you and bye.